Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla, I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about how to ask for help at work without saying, I'm so busy, and without losing credibility. So today we're going to work on shifting from being reactive to proactive communication by learning how to clearly ask for help, support, or clarity from our leaders when we're feeling overwhelmed. And we're going to do this without sounding disorganized or incapable. So let's dive right in. This episode is about one of the hardest things for us high achievers to do. I assume if you're listening to this, you're like, high achiever, want to do a great job, you want to get organized at work. And something that's hard for us to do is to ask for help, especially without sounding like we're just too busy. And as a leader, a manager, I've heard this before from many people. I know I've said it too. And I think when we say this to our leader, there's not a lot they can do. It's like, it kind of puts the onus back on the leader to be like, okay, let me help you peel back the onion. Like, what is it that's making you so busy? Because guess what? We all have really full calendars and schedules. We're all busy. Like that's sort of the assumption. So let me help you walk away from this episode with some phrases and tactics that you can bring straight to your meetings or your one-on-ones with your leader to help you get help and real results and feel good about it. All right. So step one, I sort of went into it, but I want to reiterate. Why does I'm so busy not work? When we default to things and saying things like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm drowning, these are emotional signals of like how we're feeling without any actionable insights or reflection of what's causing this and what we can do about it. And so when we approach our leader with saying, I'm so busy, it just sounds super vague. It sounds super dramatic, even though it's relatable, right? It puts the burden back on your boss or leader to help interpret or fix the issue. And often it gets brushed off because it's misunderstood. People aren't going to be able to read your mind to know what's making you so overwhelmed, especially if you haven't been self-reflective to think about, is it your work at home? Is it the work here? Is it your priorities? What is it? So instead, what you want to do is reframe your message and make it very clear. You want to have data or evidence, and you want to have very specific asks when you're talking to your leader. So for example, you might want to say something like, I have 6 projects on my plate and I want to ensure I'm meeting expectations. I'd love your help prioritizing what's most important this week. That is an example of something super specific. It's got data on it. It shows that you're taking accountability for your work, and it's saying, I'm asking for help from you to help me know what's most important, instead of, hey, let me just dump on your lap that I'm so busy and have you sort through all of that drama. So step 2, let's talk about how to take, what we know about creating clarity and having data and evidence and making specific asks. Let's talk about what we can do to bring that to our one-on-ones with our leaders to be proactively prepared. So what you want to do is you don't want to wait to have these types of conversations until you are way over your head, till you've dug a hole so deep that it's like embarrassing to bring this stuff up. So I want to remind you that when you have regular check-ins with your leader, this is time for you to talk about your workload, and it's time to help you sort through your day-to-day and the strategy behind your role. It's time for you to talk to your leader about, what is the purpose of my role? What am I here to do? Are the things that I'm doing aligned with that work? It shows you're being very strategic, that you care about your work. And you also know that there's probably a lot of work you can't get to that's important. And it shows that you have to discern, that you know that you have to discern about what's most important right now. So what you want to do is bring a list or some sort of visual. You know how I love making work visual. I've talked about that so many times. Bring a list or a visual of your current projects and tasks with you to your one-on-one. And if you are uber prepared, you can send this to your leader ahead of time. You don't have to, though. And I want you to make sure you're including things like deadlines, like what deadlines are coming up, what's in the next quarter, the next few months. Thinking about dependencies, are you waiting on actions from other people to get started? Are there other projects that have to happen before you can do your work? Those are examples of dependencies. And then capacity concerns, do you have too much? Or maybe it's the right work, but it's all at once. How can they help you with the amount of work you have right now or day to day? So a tip here would be to use your leader standard work template or checklist to help you prepare your capacity update. Let's call it your capacity update. So if you want that, I'll have it linked in the show notes for you. You can check it out. I have all of these templates that I'm going to talk about today for free in my Get Organized at Work podcast community. I have a free resources tab in there. It's awesome. I have everything in there, including videos, so that you don't have to sort through all the past content I've created. I have it all sorted for you. So I'll have this leader standard work template in there for you. So what you want to do when you approach your leader is start with something like this. You can say to them, here are the 4 top things I'm working on this week. Based on what's due and how much time I have and how much time I anticipate they'll take, I might need to defer this or delegate something. How can we walk through this together? Or can we walk through this together and figure out a plan? So number 1, it shows that you're being super self-aware about what work is pending. You are asking your leader to help you decide, can these things wait or should I delegate them? And you're saying, let's do this together. So you're taking ownership in it instead of saying, hey, boss, these are all the things, like, tell me what to do. It's like, nope, let's collaborate, recognizing this is my work, but I need help from you as my leader to help me prioritize. That's where having your deadlines, dependencies, and capacity concerns comes in really handy. And so when you bring this list or visual, you share this with them so that they can see it, because they'll see, okay, they are taking accountability. They are being proactive and thinking about it. They're not just like all over the place and have dropped the ball. If you don't have regular one-on-ones with your leader, what I suggest you do is when you start to feel like this, overwhelmed, or when you have so many things or you have questions about prioritization, put an invite on your boss's calendar for the next week and then spend a few days preparing and getting organized for that one-on-one. If you need to, if you're not able to directly schedule, send them an email or a chat and say, I really need to meet with you. It's important. I'm wondering if you can make time for me, maybe next week, and suggest dates and times, see if it works for them. Let them know that you need help prioritizing and that you'll be prepared so that the meeting goes smoothly. If you don't have consistent meetings with your leader and you feel like this is kind of an ongoing thing that you kind of struggle with the workload, or you feel like there's a problem with the priorities, this is a good time too, when you meet with your leader for the first time or first time in a while, to say, hey, maybe until I feel like this is more under control or feel like things are on, gaining momentum and on the right path, can we proactively schedule some meetings in the future? And that's a great way to get time on your leader's calendar when they're so busy, so that you can count on it. So just let them know, maybe next week or 2 weeks from now, can we have a check-in? And your leader will love that. All right. The third thing I want to talk about is just some phrases and ways you can ask for help that you can try today in your one-on-ones that will make you sound professional and proactive. So number 1, instead of saying, I'm so busy, how can you ask for help prioritizing your work? Here's some things you can say. Here's some phrases. You can say, quote, I want to make sure I'm working on what matters most. Can you help me review my current priorities? And why does this work? Leaders love when our direct reports and when the work that we're working on aligns with the team, aligns with the priorities of the organization. That's our job, right? It's to get results in specific goal areas for the organization. What are our values? What's the vision? And it shows that you're being really responsible and you're not avoiding that difficult work. So if you say, hey, I want to make sure I'm working on the right thing, can you help me review my current priorities? It tells the leader exactly what you need. Let's review all your projects and your tasks. The second thing you can do, and we mentioned it before, was asking for pause, like a temporary pause on your work or deferring certain work because maybe your workload is really high and you're just not sure what can be paused. You're trying to create additional capacity for yourself to do a good job. So you can say something like, would it be possible to pause or defer this project to, and then insert time? Maybe you say next week, next month, so I can fully focus on this critical deadline, do a good job in this area. Why does this work? So it gives your leader agency to help you with the work that they know might be on your plate. But it also gives them visibility into your bandwidth. So, not to sound harsh, but managers, leaders, supervisors, we might not know every little thing that you're doing, even if we've been in that role before, just because things change. You're putting out small little fires, as is your job before it gets up. We won't know unless you say something. So it's great to say, hey, like, here's everything I'm working on. Is this thing the most important? Could this wait? What's the risk? And I love that word risk too. Leaders love that word. What would be the risk if I waited to finish this or work on this starting next week? Would that be okay? I'll give you an example. I got a message the other day from someone in another department asking me to write an SBAR, or basically a request for something new. And I knew I was going to be out of the office Thursday, Friday. I'll have to tell a different story on different podcasts, but I ran the Grandma's Marathon, Gary Bjorkland half marathon this weekend. It was awesome. So I knew I was going to be out of the office with my kids for the Juneteenth holiday and then out of town for the race. So I just said to them right in that moment, hey, no, I wasn't aware of needing to accomplish this task. What's the risk of this if I'm not able to get to it until next week because I'm going to be out the next couple days? And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. Just check in with me at the end of next week. So I was like, great. We put all this pressure on ourselves that may or may not be real. And we don't know if we don't ask. So give your leader that option to have visibility into your work, into your bandwidth, and to help you decide, is this something you can pause or defer until a different time? That's going to lighten your load and make you feel better. The third phrase you can use is around requesting additional resources or help for something. So you can say something like, quote, I could move faster on this or be more efficient on this if I had support with, and then insert your thing. Is this something that anybody else could help with? Or is there a tool that you might recommend? So this is awesome because it focuses on you seeking solutions to help keep ensuring that progress is moving forward on those items. So if you don't feel like you need to ask or want to ask for a pause or deferment, you could let them know like, hey, so I have a lot on my plate. This thing could move a little bit faster if I had just had someone to handle this part of the project, or maybe there's a tool to help me get really organized or automate something. This is really helpful because it shows that you understand that this work is really, really important, but maybe you're looking for a resource that you might not be aware of that your leader might be. The fourth phrase you can use is on recommending a project trade-off. Maybe seeing if there's somebody else who could do this work, or maybe it can be paused. So you could say something like, if this new request is a top priority, I'd like to talk through what might be realistic to pause or hand off. So essentially, if you keep getting work added and you're just like, okay, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. This can lead to your downfall, right? Like it can be to your detriment when all of a sudden you're drowning and your boss is like, well, you never said anything when I asked if it was okay if you took this project or when I gave you this project. So it is important to speak up and say, well, I'm happy to work on this, but I don't think I have capacity with the current workload. Here's an idea of something else that, or can you help me look at my current program of work? What else might be realistic to pause or defer, or maybe hand off or delegate to someone else? So just showing, again, creating visibility to the work you have, being proactive before it gets too much. And the last phrase, or the fifth phrase that you can use to set realistic expectations early, is something like this. Quote, I want to be transparent that if everything else stays as is, I might not meet the Friday deadline for this one. Can we discuss options now about that? So this helps you give your leader time to adjust expectations so there are no last minute surprises. If you don't say anything, and again, you absorb the work, or you've been working on this, checking in on this project, and then at the last minute, you're like, hey, by the way, so I'm going to miss that deadline, or guess what? I missed that deadline. It doesn't look good. But if you say, okay, hey, I want to be transparent with you. There's a lot going on right now. There is risk of me not meeting this Friday deadline. Let's discuss. And they might say, oh, well, like that deadline is sort of soft. It's okay if it goes into the next week. Or they might say, oh, okay, cool. We need to trade this off. We need to request additional resources. Maybe we need to pause or defer, or maybe we need to reprioritize all of the other items we already talked about. So that's a great question to help set expectations so that your leader doesn't get caught off guard. So now that we've talked about how to talk to your leader about helping you with their work, and instead of saying something big like, I'm so busy, I want to let you know what you're avoiding by being proactive in doing this. I want to talk about how you protect yourself when you take this proactive approach. So the first item is last minute fires. Instead of panicking the night before a deadline or dropping balls, you've already flagged potential issues early. You've let your leader know, hey, there's time to save this before it turns into a crisis. That's what you want to avoid. The second thing you avoid is you avoid letting down the team or your leader. So when you miss a deadline because you're too busy, quote, it can feel like you didn't plan well, even if that's not true. You want to make it clear that you are communicating your bandwidth ahead of time, and it shows that you're invested in team reliability and that you're being accountable to your work. The third thing is broken trust. You are avoiding broken trust because if it happens one time, we all drop the ball here and there, your boss will probably brush it off. But if you repeatedly drop things without warning, trust can erode. So you want to come to meetings with your leader early, and it protects your reputation as someone who's dependable and self-aware. And the fourth thing you're avoiding is unrealistic future workloads. So if you never speak up, your leader's going to assume that you're fine. And then they keep assigning more work to you, and you end up in that cycle of overwhelm. So it's so much better to be honest, because that helps you create a culture of realistic planning. So I just want to remind you that you're not being dramatic when you are communicating proactively. You're actually being strategic, which is awesome. Our leaders love that, and they find that as a huge character trait that shows that you're responsible. And that's amazing when you're looking to be promoted in the future or get more responsibilities or a different job. They're going to remember that you're being proactive and communicating clearly. So just to wrap it up, I want to say some final tips and some mindset shifts. You want to think of asking for help as creating success for the team. It's not a weakness. And you want to avoid being a martyr because people don't always see how much you're doing unless you bring it to them. So actually sharing your workload is really helpful because it creates a culture of people want to make sure they're balancing the workload, they're sharing the workload, that you're just not taking everything on and sort of being a martyr. And overwhelm isn't a failure. It's actually a cue for conversation. So once you get those feelings, like we talked about, those emotional feelings, that's when you need to stop, self-reflect, kind of pick your head up from the day-to-day task and think, okay, what do I need to do to be successful in this moment? And it's usually have a conversation and also make sure that you're thinking about options like, giving this work to someone else or resetting expectations, changing deadlines, prioritizing. Don't do it alone. You're not offloading problems. If you're being proactive, you're owning your workflow and asking for strategic input, which is awesome. So let me know if you try some of these like 5 scripts during the week in your one-on-one or the status update that you give to your leader, and just see how the conversation shifts, the mood shifts, it becomes super collaborative. And if you want to, again, download the leader standard work checklist, as well as I did create a downloadable one-on-one meeting prep checklist for you, kind of going through what to go through before the meeting, like your calendar, etc., what to bring to the meeting, your list of active projects, responsibilities. I have the scripted phrases and some tips for you. So you can download that as well as you prep for your next meeting to discuss these issues with your leader. And again, that'll all be inside the Get Organized at Work blueprint or the Get Organized at Work podcast community for free. And if you want to dive more into this, if you're want to be more strategic with your days, be better at communicating with your leader, and really elevating your leadership and your brand at work, you might check out my Get Organized at Work Blueprint course. It has 6 modules going over all of this, including project management, prioritization, and the mindset you really need to elevate your leadership and your professionalism. So if you're interested in that, I will also link that in the show notes or the description so you can check it out. If this episode helped you, I would love it if you left a rating or review. This is the time where I'd like to start seeing the stars on my episode, so it gets recommended out by the podcast platforms. I only have a couple ratings so far, so please go out and rate it. Otherwise, I will see you inside the podcast community or for the next episode next week. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you later. Bye.